It's fashion that is definitely driving the destruction of the foot in the modern man. Insurance companies are still having doctors prescribe orthotics as a solution with no exit plan. The toga is actually moving the toes and making a connection from the toes to the brain. It's a very thin Einlage with little nubs on it or little points on it, and it stimulates the bottom of your foot so your foot can find the ground, so your muscles and your legs can be activated through the stimulation. There is not a lot of information about stimulation that the bottom of the foot needs to feel. It has to feel feedback, like your fingers would read Braille. A normal modern humans, the bottom of their foot will not really receive any input, any stimulation, any sensory input.
Hello, everybody, and we have a new guest here, the second English podcast. I'm really grateful. Georgette is here, and she wants to explain or tell us about her story. And she's also our second female podcast guest, and she is also interested, really interested in feet, like me. She was also educated by Lee Saxby, and she's quite active, and yeah, she wants to show us some inspirations about feet, about her story, and she really wants to share this with you. So I hope this will, give you some new aspects in your life, and enjoy this talk. Good day, Georgette.
Hi, Florian, and thanks for having me to your podcast. Very nice. And especially for doing this in English, because my German is not so great.
Can you speak a little bit German? Or?
Ja, ich kann ein bisschen Deutsch sprechen, habe ich in Hamburg für viele Jahre gewohnt. Aber ich war Englischlehrerin da, so habe ich die meiste Zeit nur Englisch gesprochen. Und dann meine Beziehungssprache mit meinem Schweizer Mann ist English. So, and all the work I do here is in English. So,
yeah, but it sounds good. Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah, I can manage a few sentences. So, but yeah, I'm originally from Los Angeles, coastal towns, Southern California. So I was really lucky to grow up in warm weather year round. In the winter time, it's an average 22 degrees. It gets a little hotter. So, and you can be barefoot all year round. And I lived right on the ocean side in a surf town. So it was quite common just to be barefoot all year round and not think twice about it.
So like we have the second English podcast, and with the first one was with Barefoot Ted, also from California.
Yep.
Seems like this gets a feed from California podcast. Maybe the English part.
Yes, the California feeds. Yes, well, because the weather is there and the atmosphere is there and the surfing is there and the relaxed attitude is there. And so it makes it really easy to be barefoot and not think that it's a strange thing. So when I grew up and where Barefoot Ted grew up, there was signs hanging in the shops of the windows and restaurants that said, no shoes, no shirt, no service. And this was quite normal to grow up like this.
And in German gyms, you are like, what, you are barefoot? This is too dangerous. Please.
Yes.
Put on shoes.
Yes. So exactly. So, my journey took me to live in Germany for quite a long time. And then I was living in Manhattan, New York. And then, I ended up in Switzerland. I met a Swiss guy when I was living in Manhattan, and I was on my way back to Germany. And I made a detour to Switzerland and married my Swiss guy and never looked back. So here I am now, from Los Angeles to Switzerland via Hamburg and Manhattan. Yeah. And then in 2010, I had a sledding accident where my left foot was broken. It was twisted 180 degrees backwards. And they had to put it back, of course, straight. And the surgery didn't go very well for some reason. And the foot was not put back straight. It's about 15 degrees laterally twisted at the ankle. And it's now 2 centimeters shorter. So that was in 2010, living in Switzerland.
So
that was quite a shock.
Yeah. You can go on. Just wanted to ask if this was the case, why you were interested in feet now.
Exactly. Well, I was always interested in feet before this, and I was, because I was always taking my shoes off and kind of getting a bit in trouble or looked at strangely in Europe, that when I would have my shoes off, it was not a normal thing. And I didn't think much about it. And when I started hiking in Switzerland, when I moved here in 2007, 2008, I was going barefoot. I got a lot of strange looks, and I quickly understood it wasn't normal. And then I broke my foot, and I was looking for someone to give me the type of therapy that I wanted to have. And I realized that there was nothing on offer. And during my recovery from my broken foot, I was at one of the best hospitals, orthopedic hospitals in Switzerland. They also work on the Olympic athletes. Mm-hmm. And the second reconstruction surgery was done well. And then I went to the physical therapist, and I was waiting for more things to happen with my feet during my recovery, and I realized there was nothing available. So I started researching, and I realized that physical therapists don't learn specialties about the feet, the intricacies of the feet. And I realized that European podiatrists, they learn the biomechanics of the feet, but they are normally cleaning the feet and keeping them healthy from pilts and dead skin. And then I had to look into podiatrists in America, and I realized they are surgeons, and they're mostly taught to cut into the feet and relocate the bones and do types of surgeries for rehabilitating the feet. So I didn't know any of this until I was in the position to search for this type of help. And I also didn't realize that so many people had problems with their lower body or their backs because of their feet. I decided I was going to do something about it. And I became a restorative foot therapist.
There are so many declarations, and it's quite hard to explain it to somebody who's asking. It's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm training feet, or I'm preparing functional feet, or I'm forced about feet, and I'm interested in feet, and I don't know. It's quite difficult to explain it in short, but yeah. So
it really is. It's really I think that's something that I am seriously interested in, is looking into creating standards or being a part of creating standards for foot therapy. Mm-hmm. So, for example, what I am doing, the physical therapists don't learn in physical therapy school, the American podiatrists don't learn, and the European podiatrists don't learn exactly what I'm doing. They have the knowledge. They have all the puzzle pieces, but they're not putting their puzzles together quite differently than I am. So, yes, you're absolutely right. There is a lot of scatteredness about this approach to recovering the feet, using actually foot fitness. So if you want to restore your posture and your body and make yourself strong, for example, you could go to a physical therapist, and you could go to a fitness trainer, and they would help you reconstruct yourself, your muscles, and your posture with exercise using your own muscles. But there's nothing exactly like that standardized for the feet.
Exactly.
So, yeah. So, I had to take classes in United States. I had to take classes in Germany. I had to take classes in Switzerland. I had to take classes in Prague and Czech Republic to put together the education that I thought would be appropriate for what I was aiming for. Mm-hmm. And as you mentioned, you and I took the same foot mapping class with Coach Lee Saxby. Yeah, you took the same class, or?
Yeah, I took it in 2019 in Berlin. Yeah, with Sebastian Baer from Joe Nimble and Lee Saxby from Joe Nimble. Yeah, Coach Lee Saxby. It was really eye-opener, a real eye-opener. So since then, I'm not like, you have to wear barefoot shoes, you have to go barefoot. It's like, well, let's take a look at your feet first and then, decide what to recommend or what to train exactly, and train the feet. Quite important part of my coaching now. And so it was really, really good. I was totally new, so I'm not a physical therapist. So I was I'm like more trainer, like more the exercise guy, but not the anatomy guy. So this was quite new for me, everything. And I still have to learn many parts of the anatomy background, but the training at all, it works, even if I don't know the exact like words like calcaneus or you know what I mean, and metatarsal, and these words were really difficult for me from the beginning, but it's getting better, and well, it was a really good experience.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the class with Coach Saxby, and sponsored by the Sebastian Bar, the Bar and Joe Nimble shoe brands. They're also putting together this education with Coach Saxby, and I was really looking for this. So the first thing I did was I understood that muscles had to be worked, and I really liked group fitness, and I wanted to have a foot fitness class in the fitness centers that I could pop in and wiggle my toes to, but there was nothing like that. So the first thing I did was I got myself certified for a group fitness trainer, and then I created a little program. So I have 30 and 15 minutes of just toga. And I put that together a while ago just to get me started. And it got a little bit put aside on my journey. And then the next thing I did was I went and got a reflexologist certification, and I learned reflexology because I'm really into the stimulation of the nerve endings through the bottom of the foot, which is where the nervous system ends or begins, to put feedback into the body. And I'm really, really interested. I would say this is kind of my specialty point in my therapy focus. So that was the second thing I did, was I went and got first the group fitness, and then the reflexology, and then I went to Barefoot Academy in Düsseldorf.
Yes.
And at the time I was there, they have a lot of good education there for runners and for people who want to transition to barefoot shoes and just feel their feet. And so I went to them, and they were offering at the time barefoot therapist certification, and they had a physical therapist there who used to be a soccer player, and he put together a program just for the feet, and that was exactly what I was looking for. So I went and got certified by them, and then I wanted to have some natural movement in there, so I went to the MoveNat course and got certified by them to be a level 1 trainer, and then I went and got a fascia certification in Prague. And I learned, it just goes on and on. So I was collecting my certifications here, and then for the coup de grace, I went to America, and I learned with Dr. Courtney Conley, And she's with Gait Happens, and she's like a gait savant. She's amazing to watch work. She's like a computer. And she's probably one of the best, like just doing it really out there. And I took a course from her, and that was really exciting. And I also took a course from Dr. Emily Splichal. And she's a podiatrist in the United States. And she didn't like what she had to do as a podiatrist, which was cut and put prescribe Einlages.
Insults. Yeah.
And she's really into, and she's really into the mechanoreceptor nerve ending feedback on the bottom of the feet.
Mm-hmm. We had a small technical issue, and you can explain deeper on this part.
Oh, well, I want to talk about Dr. Emily Splichal because she is doing something that I think is one point that's kind of missing on all this information that's coming out. So there's a lot of information about exercising the feet and doing the right exercises for whatever your problem is, and getting your toes to move, and getting your arches to work, and getting your big toe to push you off. But there is not a lot of information about stimulation that the bottom of the foot needs to feel. It has to feel feedback, like your fingers would read Braille, or just your fingers can touch things and understand what they are. And your feet really need to be able to do this, but they have no chance because they're either put in shoes, or when they're barefoot, they're probably on hardwood floors or hard cement for most people. Now, there are people out there that will go barefoot in nature or walk around the city barefoot, and they do get some sensation, and that's good. But for the most part, a normal modern humans, the bottom of their foot will not really receive any input, any stimulation, any sensory input. And Dr. Emily did a lot of research about that, and she invented her own product. It's called Naboso, and I love it. When she first started bringing it out, I found her and the product, and I've been using it in my therapy approach for everyone. And what it does, it's a little, it's a very thin Einlage with little nubs on it or little points on it. And it stimulates the bottom of your foot so your foot can find the ground. So your muscles and your legs can be activated through the stimulation. So it can go up through your whole body, and it helps your posture. It helps your foot not hit the ground so hard. And I think everybody needs to have these. They're really great. So that's what she does. That's her specialty. And I was really excited to take a class from her. I went to Arizona and took a class with her, and she talked a lot about loading the fascia. For me, it's like juicing up the fascia or revving the engine and and kind of juicing up that trampoline on the bottom of the foot through also using these stimulations. So
quite interesting.
I'm really into
never heard about it. So I will definitely check this out. So it's like giving stimulations inside the shoe,
inside the shoe,
while getting the protection of the shoe. And
Yep. So the barefoot shoes, a lot of them, they have a very thin Einlage that you can pull out.
We are going on. Again, had a small issue, but take a breath and enjoy Georgette's journey.
Yeah, so let's see. I think I was talking about Dr. Emily Splichal and her sensory stimulation product that I am really recommend in all of my therapy sessions. And I caught her in Arizona. Actually, I chased her for a little while. I was supposed to see her in Prague, and at the last minute, she didn't show up. And then later we found out it's because she found out she was pregnant and having a baby, so she couldn't fly. And then I tried to catch her at another time, and the schedule was rearranged. And so the third time was a charm, and I caught her in Arizona and took her class, and it was everything I wanted it to be. And I really like her work, and she's got a lot of great education online. She really, as you mentioned about learning the vocabulary, she really uses the doctor dialect. So you have to know your parts when you take her classes. So, I did a lot of studying before I could catch up with her. And like I said, I think she's really working from an angle that I see is not as prevalent as I would like it to see at the moment, because there's a lot of foot therapy that includes just plain exercise, but not always the stimulation that's needed. So I recommend actually to all my clients, but it's easy for me because I live in Switzerland and they're all here in Switzerland, is that they go in nature on uneven surfaces and different textures. For example, not just flat grass or not just sand, but they go on rocks, or they find tree roots, or they find little hills of mud they can climb with their bare feet. And I think this is really great exercise. Plus they get the stimulation, the sensory stimulation input into their feet, into their body, through their legs. So for me, this is super important, this type of natural exercise. And if you can't get it, then you wear the Naboso insoles in your shoes when you have to walk in the city, which is most of the time.
I like how you are combining the MoveNet concept with like feet training. And I saw this on Instagram in your stories and posts. So I really love it, how you're doing it. And I think also that this is a quite important part of being a human. Yeah. Getting outside.
Yeah, I really saw through the MoveNet course, and I was lucky they came to Zurich a few years ago. I used a lot of the information when I had to fly home recently because my father is very sick and he started falling. He's in his 80s, and I could really use the information from MoveNet to explain to him how, if he falls, he can use his body weight, or he can use the position of his legs or his hands underneath him to get enough force to move him, even as a elder person who doesn't have a lot of muscle mass and, falls more easily than the rest of us. So, and I thought the MoveNet course was really, really good for that. And just the basics of understanding what the body wants to do, but it's not allowed to do in the environment we have right now. So I combined a lot of things that I thought would be useful to help people. And this is what I mean about there's not a standard for restorative functional foot therapy. And like you said, everybody calls it something different, and everyone has a different approach and a different name. I call it sometimes fusion therapy. Like fusion food, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, depending on what you need. So right now I'm doing fusion therapy, and I'm just hoping that there's going to be some standards created in the future for this. I'm really interested in that. Absolutely. In the Western world. In Europe and United States, there is a big difference between what a podiatrist, an educated podiatrist does in Europe as opposed to United States. They're both working with feet, but really two different fields, two different educations, two different things that they're allowed to do.
Yeah. So it's also more a confusion therapy. Like with all these. That seems to be the case right now.
I think and when you take the coach's class, Coach Saxby, he's really into the history of all of this. And that's one of his kind of delights, is telling you the history. And he has his slides and his pictures and the way he expresses how the history of all of this foot business has come and gone. And you can see when he talks about it, it has come around several times, this approach to freeing the feet, letting the feet move, not locking them up in orthotics or crushing the toes in pointed shoes. This knowledge is there. It's fashion that's it's fashion that is definitely driving the destruction of the foot in the modern man. And he talks about this, and it seems like this has come up a couple of generations ago, and now it's coming up again. But the problem is there's no standards. They're still teaching the podiatrists. They're still teaching the physical therapists. They're still using reflexology for one specific thing. So they're still teaching them in the same way that they've been teaching for a while and not adding this information to the mix, and the insurance companies are still having doctors prescribe orthotics as a solution with no exit plan. But I really hope this is going to change, because the standards will change and there will be some cohesiveness. And in the world of foot health, it will not be flat anymore. The world will not be flat anymore for foot health. The world will become round. So.